Okay, so thanks, host, and thanks, judge. If everybody is ready, then I'll start for pro constructive. Now, as a pro, we affirm the resolution framework. Poverty kills. The urgency of poverty demands a more direct and effective method. Thus, whoever solved this urgency should win today's debate. Our first contention runs pensions. Pensions are a type of social insurance provided for the elderly people after their age of retirement. Most elderly people rely on pensions to survive. While China also has the highest elderly population, reaching around 158 million at the end of 2017, according to Hans 2020 from Science Direct. Furthermore, in 2011, it was estimated that there were more than 18 million poor older people in China, with over 75% of these living in rural areas. This also means that less workforce is able to cover for the rapidly increasing elders, so the Chinese government has to cover the shortfall of pensions. In other words, have to increase spending on pensions. In 2020, the shortfall would have reached 890 billion yuan, according to Business Standard 2018. However, in 2019, the average pension transfer of rural areas had been adjusted to 90 RMB per month, which still cannot ensure survival for the elderly people. And the average rural pension transfer is at 81 RMB per month. All of the problems leave the government no choice but to increase spending on welfare programs in order to alleviate poverty from the elderly currently, because elderly people already cannot and should not be working. Pension is the sole solution for them to survive. Our second contention tells you about the disabled and the effectiveness welfare plays. The first thing we post talks about the disabled people who live in poverty, primarily because of their lack of work capability, according to the International Labor Organization. Even if people that are capable of work are hired, they still get minimal income, which eventually gets outweighed by other expenses. Family members of the 62 million disabled people in the countryside are struggling to support them because of the huge financial burdens they carry. Among the income per capita for rural households with disabled members, more than 13 million of these households make less than 944 RMB. Keep in mind that not all of them are fortunate enough to have family members to alleviate their partial burden. The second link is the effectiveness of government subsidies. People with mental and physical disability can only depend their livelihood on welfare to give them their monthly income, since wages and jobs are not an option for the majority of them. The current situation and budget of 18 billion yuan, according to Global Times, only offers 3.7 million people subsidies, which results in a deficit of funding, resulting in the rest 27 million people living in poverty. The single most effective solution is increasing spending by 113 billion yuan on government subsidies, which immediately alleviates 27 million disabled living in extreme poverty and alleviates the financial burden of their families. Our third contention tells you the effect of education on poverty alleviation. The free compulsory education system is often inaccessible to the poor due to cost. According to Jason Huang in 2020, in underdeveloped rural areas, local governments often have a financial shortage to offer state-subsidized compulsory education. The first thing we tell you is that education is extremely effective at alleviating poverty. World Bank 2018 supports how finishing high school decreases the chance of poverty to 2.5%, while less than 6 years of education increases the instances of poverty to higher than 16%. The reason for this is high school and college education guarantees a middle-wage job and basic financial logic. The second link is dropout. Many students will drop out from schools to relieve their family's financial burden. According to Cambridge 2015, secondary school dropout rate reached 63%. Many decide to drop out in middle school. They pursue a trade to start earning income for their struggling families. Moreover, according to Liu in 2019, every 10,000 RMB investment in education can lift 7 individuals out of poverty, and this has a 30% higher return than agriculture and DNG investment proven to be increased spending will be extremely effective. Thus, that is the reason why today we are so proud to affirm the resolution. Thanks, Judge. Thanks, host.
Okay, the second speaker, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So, judge ready? Opponents ready? My time starts Now, we negate whoever provides a long-term solution and helps the most people overall should win today's debate. Contention 1 is jobs. First, infrastructure jobs creates new jobs. According to Global Infrastructure Asset Management, LLC, each $1 billion in infrastructure investment will generate between 9,819 and 17,784 jobs. In fact, China is expected to generate 46 million jobs related to project management by 2027. People under poverty will drop by 1.32% when the employment rate increases by 1%. Furthermore, in a 2014 study by in 2013 study by the University of Maryland, economists concluded that 83 billion infrastructure investment will create 1.7 million jobs. Brookings Institution found that more than 14 million workers were directly employed in infrastructure jobs in 2012, and more than 10% of American total national employment. Second, the rapid development of township and village enterprises has created non-agricultural employment with a growth rate of 28% per year for 25 years, creating millions of non-agricultural employment opportunities. According to the World Bank, number of people in non-farm jobs increased from 29% to 70%, therefore making low-income farming jobs sustainable and providing a long-term solution to poverty. Contention 2 is e-commerce. Point A is job for disabled. Disabled people account for 12% of China's population under poverty. We solve this by creating e-commerce jobs. Zhen Taishan and Pingshan City took part in the e-commerce customer service training course organized by the local government. Although Zhen can only type with her feet, she is now able to sustain a basic living. Jia Yangming, the Jiangxi Disabled Persons Federation, said internet technology has opened a new door for the disabled, and e-commerce is an ideal employment choice for many. At the Zhejiang Tianshun Communications Device Company, 43 disabled workers are assembling optical fiber device protection equipment, in addition to a month of 1,660 yuan per person. The company offers them free lunch and helps them to pay their own social insurances. Subpoint B is roads. A 1% increase in roads investment is associated with a 0.3% drop in poverty incidence over 5 years. We lack roads right now. For instance, in Gansu, the second poorest province in China, only 43% of the province villages have paved rural roads, hampering economic development. Furthermore, in Ningxia, one of China's poorest provinces, the building of roads connecting villages to urban centers improve access to essential services, including health and education. And poverty decreased to over 30%, and average annual income per capita increased to 40% in survey project villages. A total of 2 billion yuan turnover was achieved last year by the county's e-commerce business, through which 80% of townships and 32% of impoverished villagers are fighting poverty. So point C is upgrading rural roads. A World Bank 16 paper states that the upgrading of rural roads increases agricultural productivity, attracts trade and investment, and etc. The survey results of 64 villages indicate that the average household income had increased 23%, and the number of low-income households decreased by over 50% after the upgrade of rural roads. Contention 3 is caring centers. Point A is disability infrastructure. There's over 83 million people in China who are disabled, and more than 40% of them are illiterate. However, children with disabilities are excluded from mainstream schools unless they can demonstrate the ability to adapt to the school's physical and learning environment, according to the Human Rights Watch News. Therefore, the only way to eliminate poverty for these people is to provide them with education and sustainable jobs. Currently, schools deny these students admission, pressure them to leave because they fail to provide appropriate classroom accommodations to help them overcome barriers related to their disabilities. Subpoint B is lack of nursing homes. In 2018, China's nursing homes only offered 29.1 beds per 1,000 elderly citizens. There were 51 beds per 1,000 elderly citizens in Australia the same year. In 2019, there were 176 million people aged 65 and older, making up 12.6% of the population. As a result, the incidence of chronic illness and age-related disease will soar. In Shanghai, a professional caretaker would cost 82,291 RMB per year, which is around 7,000 RMB per month, while nursing home only charges between 1,000 and 4,000 RMB per month. In the status quo, 90% of seniors live in their homes due to lack of beds. Therefore, we'll be able to alleviate the pressure of these families out of poverty by decreasing their costs.
Okay, thank you. And now crossfire.
Yes. Right. So time starts now.
Okay, so I believe I get the first question right.
Yes.
So time starts. So can we agree on the fact that we don't want to force elderly to work? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, so
Okay, so you talk about jobs and you talk about e-commerce. Your main stuff in your case is talking about you want to increase jobs and econ. So how will that help the elderly?
so firstly, The elderly currently still has a pension file. We'll explain to you why later on. We'll rebut your pension later on. But the point is that we don't have the obligation to solve every single issue you propose. But furthermore, second of all, we believe that when offering work opportunities for these people, for these working force currently, they can make up to the deficit the pension system currently has. That's what we're doing. We're offering jobs to people that are capable of working, and they can then help the deficit in the pension system. So whatever, right? Moving on to my question.
Sure.
Right. So you talked about disabled people and how you alleviate like 27 million people. What welfare are you pushing on? Like, what are you funding?
First, I never said that we're like alleviated 27 million people. We never said
Okay,
that.
then how much? Then how much did you alleviate?
We
in
said that
past?
we have benefited 3.7 million people with subsidies, and that like budget is 18 billion yuan currently. Okay, so
Okay, and how many are out of poverty? Did you only just benefit them, or did you alleviate them out of poverty?
we benefit them, but if we don't alleviate
Okay.
them, that is a key to increase spending,
Okay.
isn't it? Because they
Sure.
don't get
You can
enough
have a
money.
question. You can have a question.
Okay. So can you tell me the specific jobs you want to create by public infrastructure? Is it constructional job? Is it like a service sector job, etc.? Like, can you tell me?
No, so there's a lot of jobs. Our first contention, our second part mentions non-agricultural jobs in general, but second of all, our second contention also mentions about service jobs and e-commerce jobs, for example, jobs that are related to the internet, for example, customer service, and the list goes on, right? So
Sure.
moving on to my question, you
Sure.
talked about you talked about pensions. Can you explain how governmental funding will increase the amount of money the beneficiaries will receive? That is to say, if I used to receive 88 yuan, now after the government funds it, I will receive 108 yuan. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, something similar. Yes. Like, why not? If there's only
Can you
like
explain the can you explain the mechanism? Because the pension is based on the personal contribution. As in, if I pay X,
no.
I'll get X in the future. That is how the pension works.
Yes. So can I explain it now?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're saying is that the pension, yes, depends on like their contribution to the society previously. However, we have explained there is a pension shortfall. A pension shortfall means that even if you contribute a lot to the society, you might not get as much. So that is why when we cover this shortfall, can I finish explaining, please? So if we cover this shortfall by 890 billion yuan investment, that will get the amount, that will get the elderly people the amount they deserve.
A quick follow-up, how many people
Sure.
do not get the amount they deserve? How many is that?
Well, currently, if we speak about averagely, then everybody is not, because average pension transfer is
Okay,
89.
thank you. And the third speaker, are you ready?
Okay,
Can
before
I
we go
quickly-
do our rebuttal, can we ask for evidence check of the Gansu votes that claimed by our opponents in our constructive speech?
Oh, the 46%.
Yes, card cut and link. Thank you.
Okay, you want to check their evidence, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, okay, you have 1 minute to provide the link.
Okay, so Khan has already provided evidence. So
Okay, now I cancel their link, and now you have 1 minute to check this evidence.
I think they need to use their prep time to check. If they don't want to use that, they could feel free to start with their rebuttal speech.
I'm sorry, but what your link have provided is a 404 error page. There is no page for the World Bank. So, by the link you said.
Is it okay if we screen
No,
share the card?
No, the problem is that in the link I sent, there's a space. There's a space between it. If you delete the space between rural and votes, it probably will work.
Okay, sure, but can you give like a card cut? Because it will spend a lot of time to like read the actual card.
So Khan, you need to give the codes. Give the exact codes.
We sent the card cut. It's here on the chat.
Oh, okay. I'll send it right now. Okay, so we'll. Are you guys checking evidence, or
Yeah,
else
we
I'll also
already
like to.
finished checking. We already
Yeah.
I
finished
also like to
checking.
check a piece of evidence.
Sure.
Sure.
Which
Okay,
piece?
so first of all, on the point about 27 million,
Host, you need to recite the timer, please. Yes, recite the
the
timer.
3.7 million getting benefits, and second of all, the pensions and talking about how people aren't receiving what they deserve to. Sure.
Dear host, that will be 2 minutes because they checked for 2 pieces of evidence. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, you ordered that. Host, you just need to continue. Do not restart, please. You just need to continue with the timer. Thank you so much.
Okay, can you give them the link?
Host, they want 2 cards, so you just need to continue with that. Just start, and until 2 minutes, I will call them.
You want to use your prep time?
No. Yeah, because of like Kansai asked for 2
Oh,
evidences.
2 evidence.
So Pro has
Okay.
2
Okay.
minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, we already sent
Yeah.
2 of the cards. Can we start our prep for the rebuttal?
Thanks.
Yeah.
So host, you could start with Pro slide prep time.
Can we ask for the card cut? Thank you.
But that would spend additional time. Do we want to run for prep?
Okay, so host, you could just pause the timer, please, and recite them. And by K-pop, find the smart card as soon as possible.
I believe I have given the card they required. So what are they trying to?
The card
Oh,
cut.
sure. And
Yeah,
also,
thanks.
I want to have a card cut for them.
Which?
For your contention one about
Which
job.
one?
Yeah,
So
like
you're
1
checking
billion.
evidence?
You guys
Yeah.
just
Card
okay.
cut.
This time we allow you to give evidence once, but next time check the cards at the same time, and they will pull out all of the links together. Otherwise, we will be kind of wasting time. Yeah.
So which card do you guys want? Can you guys say it?
So in your contention one, you mentioned like 1 billion investment can generate like some jobs, like 70,000 or something like that.
Sure.
Like you could, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Opponents, I believe I have sent the first card in.
Yeah, sure. We're gonna send you our evidence.
The second one is already sent.
Okay, I think I will just start with run pro side rebuttal speech prep time. Okay. So host, you will just run pro-side rebuttals or pro-side prep time.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much for cooperation. Thank you so much, host.
So the pro side, if you're ready, you can tell me.
Yeah, we used 15 seconds and we will now start. Is anyone not ready? Then my time starts. Now, okay, firstly, our opponents talk about employment benefits. Looking at the general image, we tell that there is a huge logical fallacy because the number of job opportunities generated doesn't equal to the number of poor people actually getting the jobs. Our opponents never tell us how many people they can actually help through infrastructure. Therefore, by merely proving job opportunities, our opponents totally fail to explain the logical link between more jobs and poverty alleviation. Moreover, our opponents never specify to us what kind of jobs are they creating. When we're talking about infrastructure jobs, we tell that it only goes to workers who are actually highly skilled, who are the ones who are truly employed. Just 8.5% of the unemployed previously work in occupation heavily utilized in highway, street, or bridge construction. We tell you that less than 1 in 200 unemployed workers previously work in sub jobs. So therefore, even if there are job creations, the jobs won't really go to the poor because our opponents never prove how many jobs actually get to the people. Okay, moving on to talk about e-commerce. But looking at our opponents' contention, they argue that by building roads, e-commerce programs can offer job opportunities. But before we even talk about whether disabled would truly benefit them and whether e-commerce is truly effective, let's see whether we need to increase the infrastructure spending here. According to China Daily, every village in China will have access to asphalt roads by 2020 as part of the efforts to lift more rural out of poverty. Moreover, we tell you that not only we don't have any lack of roads, we actually have an overspend of 31%, according to Oxford Business Review. 3/4 of the projects in study suffered cost overruns. This means that much of the money is actually not being used, and we already overspent on these projects. We don't simply have any room to actually increase spending. We tell you that by increased spending in roads, this is actually a waste of money. Moreover, we tell you that the real issue is not the infrastructure, it's actually people don't have enough phones. In order to get access to e-commerce, people must have phones in order to access it. However, the phone penetration, according to Newzoo Global Phone Market, it tells that the phone penetration is low at 59.9% in China, which means that nearly half the people don't have phones in China. So that is why people just can't get e-commerce, because the basic needs, which is the phones, aren't being given by the people. Moreover, we tell you that they said that disabled can have jobs in e-commerce, but we tell you that actually 0.3% of the China's total urban unemployment consists of persons with a disability. So this simply proves you that the people can't really get the jobs, which is according to the conference board. Okay, moving on to the third contention, they talk about caring center. But before we even talk about their content, whether this is a public infrastructure or not, according to Corporate Finance Institute, definition of public infrastructure refers to infrastructure facilities, systems, and structures that are owned and operated by the public. But this totally contradicts with what our opponents are saying. We tell that in fact nursing homes are actually costing money because according to Sixstone, rooms are not cheap in China compared with the lower end of the market, where a bed generally costs costs 2,000 yuan per month, and the monthly fee for an apartment in the nursing homes is actually 18,000 yuan. Therefore, this proves that the money that our opponents what our opponents are saying, which is about the nursing homes, can't work because at first this is not considered as something that is public infrastructure. Public infrastructure is something that is actually owned by public and everyone can get access to it. But however, we tell you that this is not topical because clearly private nursing homes is something that you need to afford in the first place. And secondly, our opponents talk about lack of nursing homes, but as we have already stated, we can simply ignore their subpoint B, because while we are talking about nursing homes, we tell you that this is not even topical, and even we step back, we stand on a high stance. We tell you about nursing homes can actually help the poor. Our opponents never prove any numerical evidence saying that the nursing homes actually relate to poverty alleviation, so we simply can't get our opponents' contention here. Okay, so in general, we tell you that first our opponents talk about jobs, but judge, they never specify what kind of jobs are they saying here. So therefore, we just not know how can the jobs actually flow to the poor, and how can the poor actually be alleviated, and how can they be lifted out of poverty. So therefore, we don't know what is the link between here. Moving on to talk about e-commerce, but as we provide a better way to actually help the disabled. We provide with the most direct, more effective way to actually lift them out of poverty. Since we are talking about effectiveness, judge, you should simply buy our contention, because we tell you that by giving them welfare, which is the most direct aid, we help the most people in need. So that is why please vote for Pearl.
Okay, thank you. And the fourth speaker, are you ready?
So if everyone can hear me,
Yeah.
if everyone can hear me, my time starts now. First, looking at framework, they are giving you a framework of urgency, whereas we tell the sustainability should be prioritized, because in this debate that so short-term poverty, so these people can be lifted out of poverty for like a week and then they can fall into poverty again. Whereas we tell you that by sustainability, we're terminating all poverty. Now, first, looking at the first contention of pensions, right? We tell that the rural old people's average in the status quo is 81 RMB per month, and the poverty line is 651 RMB per month. Therefore, in order to lift one old person out of poverty, we need to spend 570 yuan per month per person. If we only account for the 60% of old people in rural areas, therefore, in order to lift these people out of poverty, of short-term poverty, it would cost about 54 billion yuan per month. Therefore, proposal isn't simply feasible. Therefore, the only way for us to increase spending in the pension sector without bankruptcy is to create economic growth in the market, which is caused by creating more jobs. In fact, the pension that old people receive will also be a direct representation of their annual income. And without the 15 years of contribution, these people wouldn't even get pension. Therefore, we are telling you that we are solving the problem here. We are solving this problem because in the status quo, there are a shortage of workforce. Therefore, we are the ones who are providing these jobs. And even if you don't buy that we are helping these people directly, we tell you that the percentage of people living under poverty line will reduce by 1.32% when the employment rate in the province increases by 1%. Now, what's our opponent's response? They simply gave you the 8.5% evidence about these people not being employed. However, first, we tell that this evidence is from 2013. It is outdated. Second, it's from the United States. And third, we tell you that these high-skilled jobs isn't necessarily the same in China, right? Now, moving on to their second contention here about disability. So they have provided you the evidence that they're benefiting 3.7 billion people. However, we tell that in their evidence, they never directly said that they're alleviating how many people out of poverty, right? Therefore, we tell that that has simply no correlation with our topic today. And second of all, now cross-apply our contention here about e-commerce, right? We have already told you that at the Zhejiang Tianshuan Communication Device Company, 43 disabled workers were assembling optical fiber spice protection equipment, in addition to a monthly wage of 1,060 yuan per person. Therefore, we are the ones who are actually creating benefit for these disabled people. So what's their response on us for e-commerce? They simply say that there is cost overspend. However, we tell you that in this case, cost overspend isn't necessarily bad, right? Because we tell you that this simply means that because roads charge no fees, then people have access to it. This is the definition of public infrastructure, right? Now, moving on to their last contention here about education. So first, we tell that according to their own card, the reason that the families can't actually pay is because these family members are unemployed, right? According to their own evidence, the cost that the author is describing here is the opportunity cost. And to drop out in middle school in order to pursue a trade to start earning income for their own struggling families. Therefore, we need to increase job opportunities for these people to earn a sustainable income and therefore complete their pursuit and sustain their future generations, which stops the poverty cycle. Therefore, the main here is solved by our side, since we are giving these people jobs so that they can sustain their family and pay for the fees for their own children. Now, moving on. Second of all, what we're trying to tell you is that the main problem in the education sector isn't about quantity, it's about quality, right? According to their own card from the International Food Policy Research Institute, who proposed that the 10K investment on education will lift 7 people out of poverty directly. The quality is probably more important than the quantity of education for the poor in rural China. And as a concept, what we're trying to tell you is that we're proposing a plan in which we are increasing education quality by solving problems like overcrowding in the urban schools and building tables and chairs in the rural area, right? We tell you that what we are doing is actually going to help because we are going to increase the education quality, which therefore makes these poor people get past their high school entrance exams. Therefore, they are actually doing no benefit for the situation. Now, overall, what did they target our specific case? The only point that they try to say again and again is that, okay, for all of these reasons, strongly negate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Crossfire.
Any prep for cross?
You want a
No,
prep
thank
time?
you. No, thank you.
Oh, okay, sure. Then we
Wait.
should probably
Okay.
start. Is host ready?
Yes.
Okay, so my first question starts now. Can we make an agreement that people now drop out as high as 63%?
Okay, first we told that this piece of evidence isn't true, right? We tell you that, for example, in the urban areas, 70% of people also drop out. Therefore, it's not something that's unique to the rural areas, right?
Can I rephrase
Sure.
this? But do you agree that currently we should instead prioritize the people to actually get an opportunity to education?
No, we're telling you that is not the case in the status quo.
But if people can't even get education, why are you focusing on the quality
in
in the first
Let me
place?
explain. So first, what we're trying to tell you is that 70% 70% of these people drop out in urban areas as well as in rural areas. Therefore, it's not unique to rural areas, right? And second of all, what we're trying to tell you is that the main problem here is quality. These people can't get into high schools. They can't get into universities because they can't pass the entrance exam. Therefore, the main problem here is actually quality. And what we're doing is that we're stopping overcrowding. For example, in cities like Joko, right? In these cities, average class size is about 100 people. Therefore, they simply can't see the teachers in class. Therefore, what we need to do in the state school is to improve quality. Now, can we ask
moving
you a
on to
question?
your question.
Sure,
Wait,
thank you.
It's your question.
Yeah, can we ask you a question? Can we ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. So about your disabled point, you mentioned that you're benefiting
Yes.
3.7 billion people, right?
Yes.
Can you mention the correlation between your benefiting and actually lifting them out of poverty?
Okay, first, we believe that we are benefiting them. We can't eradicate poverty. This is not possible. We can't say that we can eliminate all the
Sure.
poverty,
Mhm.
but
Thank
we're
you.
saying that by
That's
benefit
all
them,
we
we
need. That's all what we need.
But can I
Thank you.
finish? We're saying that it's not possible to
Mhm.
eradicate poverty, but we can still, by helping them with the most degree, we can help them with poverty. Moving on to
Right,
my
Judge.
question.
So we're
Can I move on to
trying
my
to prove to
question?
you
have
here
already
is that
you-
okay?
can I
You're
move
not
on to
going to
my
let us
question?
explain, right? So what we're trying to tell you is that we are the ones who are actually eradicating poverty in this case because we directly assist them with jobs so that they can sustain themselves. We have already proven to you examples in Zhejiang, for example, that these people are offered a 1,660 yuan per person per month. Therefore, we are the ones who are solving the problem. Sure.
Moving on to my question. Okay, can I ask a question right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. If can you tell us any related nursing homes of public infrastructure? Can you give an example that is actually public and actually access to all the public?
So we tell you that nursing homes are public infrastructure according to use NCBI. It directly says that nursing home is a part of infrastructure. If that makes sense, can we ask you another question?
Yeah, definitely. It is infrastructure. It is physical, but is it public? We tell you that it costs money. Actually, it is expensive. People need to afford in the first case.
This doesn't make sense now, right? Because we tell you that, for example, public transportation, it also requires money, right? So every type of transportation, it requires money.
We tell
so
you that
the same
you need
thing
to
exists
pay.
for every
You need to
thing,
pay
right?
in order to access. You need to pay in order to access.
Yeah, for example, the same goes with hospitals, right? The same goes with hospitals. If you have to pay for you to access it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. And the first speaker, are you ready to do the summary?
Hi host, may I run my prep? Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so hi host, and I think we're ready. Thanks. So judge ready, and opponents ready, and the time for the pro summary speech starts now. Starting with some clarifications, dear judge. Firstly, we're not dropping spending in public infrastructure. We only urge to prioritize the increased spending on welfare system. And secondly, today's topic is about increased spending, and we have to provide a link between the increased spending and poverty alleviation. Now, moving on to a framework comparison. For the comparing of framework, our framework tells you, dear judge, that we are helping all the vulnerable population. We don't have to let them work because that they should not and cannot be worked, such as the elderly people and the disabled people. We're giving them welfare. We are giving them the basic need to survive. We're letting them survive. Our opponent's framework basically focuses on prevention of poverty. They're being really inhumane. They're abandoning so many people that doesn't have the capability and the ability to work. They're just simply abandoning and neglecting them. Now moving on to some major defenses. What defense about their attack on our contingency? They talk about opportunity costs, which actually help us because even if the school is free, if we don't cover the opportunity cost, that is that if the poorest children can go to work and make some money, even if the school is free, why should we increase? Why should the poor student go to school? To answer that question, question, we have to increase the coverage of welfare, not only by giving them free education, but we have to cover their opportunity cost. Now, also, our opponents talk about quality and quantity issue. However, dear judge, we tell you that without educational welfare, people are getting no education, but without public infrastructure, they're only getting bad quality education. It is easily seen that we should get everybody education at the first place. Thus, we urge prioritizing increased spending on educational welfare. Now, their contention 1 clashes with our contention 1 and contention 2. While looking at our rebuttals to their contention 1 job, their job basically have no impact stated on the poverty. They merely ideally think that any jobs created by public infrastructure, any poor can do, which is clearly absurd. Because just because a public infrastructure generates like 70 or 90,000 jobs doesn't mean that this job will definitely flow to the poor timely. Now, looking at our contention have explained that why we are giving money to the elderly people, why we're helping them, or we're giving them to disabled. And their attack for the pension point is firstly job, which I have explained that why there is no impact, and secondly about nursing home. Their nursing home is infrastructure, but is privately owned, so it is not on topic. It is not on topic. Since the topic today is about public infrastructure, anything privately owned should not be counted as a public infrastructure. Now moving on, they talk now moving on to the defense about their attack on disability. They only state that we have never stated how many people have been eradicated out of poverty. However, dear judge, this topic is about alleviation. Alleviation means to ease symptom, which is now poverty issue, and that does not mean to that does not equal to eradicate. So 3.7 million benefited means that we have alleviated 3.7 million people out of poverty. So if it is that the case, increased spending, if we invest more, definitely better, but as long as we increase spending, it will all be good. Thus then we can see that why that our impact outweighs theirs and their attack fails. Now, so their attack fails. So that is the reason that why we're so proud to affirm the resolution. Thanks, Judge. Thanks, hosts.
Okay, second speaker, are you ready?
Can I have 30 seconds of prep? Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. So,
Okay.
judge ready. Opponents ready. Our time starts. Now, firstly, on the framework of sustainability, we tell that opponents fail our framework, however, we fulfill to their framework because we still prove to you our effectiveness about how poverty alleviation, but they fail to prove why their solvencies are actually sustainable and can operate on long term. Moving on, a few points of clarification. Firstly, we tell that jobs itself create benefits, even if not all poor people access these jobs we create. It still creates benefits as long as people are employed by these jobs. For example, we mentioned how 1% increase in employment means a 1.32% decrease in poverty incidents. Second of all, we tell you that their disabled evidence about how 3.7 million or something like that was help cannot be found in their link because judge, if you click in and you command F and you check, there's no such piece of evidence in that link they sent you. So that evidence is simply made up by them or etc. because we can never find that number in their evidence. Thirdly, we tell you that they do not lift anybody out of poverty because first of all, the evidence does not mention that. But second of all, if they say alleviate poverty and alleviate out of poverty is completely different because if they alleviate poverty, they only make it not as harsh, but if we alleviate out of poverty, we tell that by any single person, we have a greater impact, even if you compare on a ratio of 1 to 1. Lastly, on the point about nursing homes, we tell you that there are privately owned care homes, but there are also council-owned care homes, which are operated and owned by the public. Moving on to a few quick rebuttals. Firstly, on the rebuttal of pensions, we tell the pensions are based on self-payment. Every week, every month you have to pay 2 to 20 yuan to actually be qualified for pension. Second of all, you have to have 15 years of work contribution to be qualified. Third of all, we told that the spending of education, healthcare, pension is increasing from 6.3% of China GDP to 11.3%, and it's projected to reach 23% by 2050. The trend is going on, and we don't see why we have to increase additional spending on the basis of having such. Moving on to the second order about roads. We talk about how we already have 98%. We tell you that first of all, since we're all looking about minorities, we tell you that you should look at the poorest provinces. For example, in Gansu, that has 46% are still not covered, and they never responded to that. Therefore, we believe that their coverage of roads is simply incomplete. Moving on to two classes in today's debate. Firstly is roads and e-commerce. We tell you that there's a 30% decrease in poverty if we just increase the for example, when we build all seasonal roads in Ningxia connecting the villages to the urban centers. But second of all, we tell you that we cut the amount of low-income households by 50% just by upgrading the roads, which they never responded in their rebuttal nor their summary on their subclass C about upgrading roads. Second class is about disabled and the old. We tell you that we directly win this class because of two reasons. Firstly, on the old, we tell you that we already win this old point because pensions is not simply sufficient to help the old people because it is not dependent on the government funding. The government only covers a shortfall and not the amount beneficiaries actually receive. Their evidence does not suggest anything similar to that. But second of all, on the point about disabled, since they offer no substantial evidence and no true evidence in their case, we win directly because we offer these poor people a sustainable way of alleviating themselves out of poverty, and that's why we win on both classes today's debate. Please, strong calm ballot. Grand Cross.
Okay, so then is anyone not ready?
Nope.
Then crossfire starts. Now, is there evidence about the Gansu saying that we need to build more or saying that we already built more? We already built enough.
It says we need to build more. It's not connected.
However, when we are checking the evidence, we found that the evidence is saying that already 43% in Gansu, they already built enough roads in Gansu.
Wait.
Is this contradicting to what you have said?
On the evidence, it directly says that only 43% of provinces village have pavable roads. Therefore, we know that we need to increase the percentage into 100%.
Follow up.
Now, can we ask you a question?
Sure.
Because sure. So in your response to us about disabled, so are you simply saying that disabled people shouldn't have the ability to work when they could?
No, we're just saying that your solution is absurd and should not be considered to this topic because
so
you're talking
why?
about private infrastructure. You're talking about private infrastructure, not public infrastructure.
What part is that?
Alleviate them out of poverty, but can nursing homes alleviate people out of poverty? Can they alleviate out?
Let me explain. Firstly, nursing homes is not about disability. Nursing homes is about the elderly.
Yeah.
Second of all, we already explained to you that
We agree.
there are certain. And so my partner asked you about disabilities. Why are you responding with nursing homes? We asked about disabilities issue.
Can you rephrase your question? Sorry.
Our question was that why? Wait, Angela ask.
Okay, sure. So, wait, what's my question? So basically about disability, right? So you have insisted on your summary that disabled people shouldn't work, right?
No,
so by your
we
first
never stated
speaker.
that. We never stated that.
We say that rather let them work, we provide with the more effective.
Okay, right. So are you saying that? Are you saying that
you asked the question?
cash assistance? No, yes or no question. Are you saying
Can
that
we
cash
answer your
assistance?
question
No,
first
this is
before
not-
you do a
this is not
response?
yes or
You're
no.
being
You
extremely
answered
disrespectful.
our question. You
And
answered.
we're
our
asking you a follow-up.
We say that
You've
Yeah.
answered our question.
We are not sure.
So we're asking you for a follow-up, if that's okay.
Sure. Move on.
Sure.
Let's just continue.
Okay, sure. So about disabilities, so why shouldn't they work if they have the capacity to work? So why is them living on the cash assistance
We
better?
tell you that only 0.3% of the disabled actually work in the jobs. That's the first response. Second, we tell you that we are comparing effectiveness. We tell you that welfare plays a more effective role in alleviating of poverty, so therefore we should prioritize.
And
solution.
lastly,
No. Okay.
I'm
So
sorry.
can we give you a
Can we finish? Can we actually finish your
Our
response?
problem.
Can we
problem
finish?
with your- No, sorry. I
You
have
have
evidence
multiply
problem.
we have a
interrupted us.
problem.
I
We
have
have a
evidence problem. Because this evidence you sent to
But if
the
you
J,
keep
the
asking
J,
and doesn't let us
no,
answer, obviously there's a
No,
big problem because you're
the
not letting
J-
me answer.
the JS online thing doesn't mention your 3 million. That link does not mention
We
it.
talk about 0.3%. We don't talk about
Yeah.
3 million.
You talked
Yeah,
about 3
We
million.
don't talk about that. And
You
I
talked about
believe
Talk about
3.7
3
million.
Yeah. Can you offer us a card cut for the JS online something? Cause yeah, thanks.
Can you repeat which one you want? Sorry, there's an
Okay,
internet.
thank you. Time it up and the search speaker.
Yeah, we're
Are you
asking
ready?
for a very quick evidence check.
Are
On
you
the
on
point,
evidence, right?
yeah, evidence check. To point that states, the first link you sent us, JS Online, about like the disabled people being benefited, that part.
Wait, what do you mean? The
Just
first
go
link
find.
that we
Yeah,
have already spent?
yeah. Just find it in the chat. It should be in the
No,
chat.
because when I opened it, there was no evidence that when I asked you send me this evidence, but the evidence I'm asking for isn't in this link.
We will check it again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
can
you.
you guys get up
Okay.
card cut? Thanks.
Team Shanghai, you have 1 minute to provide the link.
Roger. Hi, opponents. Our evidence is a file. It is a file. So how am I supposed to like send it to you? It is like
Can
a
you
picture.
can you cut the card? Like just
So I
like
mean, it's a diagram. It's a diagram.
Okay.
Screenshot it and send it to the chat.
Can you
Yeah.
screenshot? Can you send an image?
Yeah. Just a
You
screenshot.
can.
Okay, sure. We are screenshotting it. Let me just screenshot you the page, and you can find like the big.
Yes, no problem. Either form is okay.
Okay, are you screenshotting it?
Yeah, we have sent it in. Yeah, you can check that.
Okay, I can saw that. And
Yeah, you guys.
Team Shenzhen, you have 1 minute to check it.
No, we don't need to check it. They can start their final focus if they want.
You don't want to check them now? Okay. Wait a minute. Okay.
Host, you start by
Okay.
screen sharing. Yeah.
You can do your final focus
Excuse
now.
me. Excuse me. I have a quick thing. The evidence I asked for was the point about how 3 million are benefited, not how only 0.3% are employed. LZ opponents, you sent me the wrong evidence, opponents.
Like last
Opponents.
time, the evidence checker was also like the wrong link. So we're asking if you have the
Opponents.
link. Like if you don't have that piece of evidence, then you can just say it. So we don't have to ask again.
Prosite, are you guys there? Hi. You did drop off?
Sure.
I think they can't hear or something.
Will they hear us? I don't
Okay.
think they can
Team
hear us.
Shanghai, can you hear me? Team Shanghai. Hello?
Well, let's
I
just
think they mute yourself. Or what?
Team
Oh.
Shanghai, can you hear us?
They can't hear us. Could you guys add her or add them into the
Sorry.
group? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can you hear us now? Sorry.
Yeah, we
If-
could hear you.
Okay, so can we run for the final focus?
I think Kansai is asking for evidence.
Oh,
You
sorry,
sent us
because we have a problem of our like mic or something.
Oh, it's okay, no problem. Just give the
So,
evidence and ask
I will
evidence.
start your prep time.
No, you don't start their prep time. They're checking evidences. Yeah.
Host like the.
Which evidence are we checking again?
No,
Okay.
because you sent us the wrong evidence. I want the evidence that you mentioned something 3 million or
Host, you just started
27
timer.
million. Any million
Wait,
thing that you
you don't
mentioned in
even
your
know what are you
presentation.
checking. I think we have already sent the like this.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
That previous we have sent it in.
No, we are asking for the 3.7 million benefited.
Card cut.
We have
Send
sent
the
that
card cut.
in.
Just send the card cut. You only send the link. Send the card cut.
So, Team Shanghai, you want to provide the link? They asked.
Yeah, we are finding, but
Okay, you don't have 1 minute, and I'll count your prep time.
We have sent the evidence
Evidence
in.
sent. We should start our final focus, right?
Yeah.
So is anyone not ready?
You
Then-
still have you still
yeah,
have
no.
time.
Oh, we don't need any prep time, and we should.
Okay, sure. Feel free to start.
Okay, so is anyone not ready? Then my time starts. Now, first for clarification, we believe in today's debate, we should prioritize urgency instead of sustainability, since if the people are suffering and impoverished right now, they demand a more direct solution to alleviation of poverty instead of what our opponents saying long-term benefits or sustainability. Moving on to some voting issues for pro. First, pension. Our opponents so to attack at first about jobs, and they're saying that they are using the jobs to actually fill the deficit, which is the posing problem that we have claimed, but we believe that first, this is just ridiculous because we can't use any jobs to actually fill the deficit, and we believe that by increased spending we will solve this problem and we will cover the benefits for the elders by increased spending in pension. Moving on, everyone's talking about pension and they're saying that nursing homes can help, but as we have claimed for several times in the previous debate, our opponents never give any evidence saying that actually nursing homes is something that is actually public owned or public operated as what public infrastructure means. So we believe that is just like something that we should ignore because they don't have any evidence proving their claim. Moving on to the second voting issue, which is about education. They talk about opportunity cost of quality. We believe that is something that only the pro can solve more effectively. Because when we are talking about quality, we should instead focus on people who don't even get education opportunities. If people don't get education qualities, we are comparing what people don't even get education with the bad quality. Which one do you need to prioritize? Definitely the one who didn't even get education opportunities. Therefore, Judge, you should simply buy our two voting issues. Moving on to some of our opponents' voting issues. They talk about jobs, but as we have claimed for several times, there's simply no link between more job opportunities and people who are actually lifted out of poverty or people who are alleviated out of poverty. So therefore, this simply doesn't make any sense as our opponents never provide us a numerical evidence saying that people are actually lifted out of poverty directly and effectively by a job that is created. Moving on to talk about caring center and lack of nursing homes, but as we have clarified for so many times, when this is not topical, when this is not even public infrastructure, it is privately owned and privately operated with charge for money, we should not consider this because this is not in the public infrastructure. So that is why you will feel extremely comfortable to vote for pro.
Okay, thank you. And the last speaker, are you ready?
The rest of our prep time. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So if everyone's ready,
Okay, time is up.
If everyone's ready, so I'm going to start with off-time roadmap. So first, we're going to deal with my opponent's problems. Second, we're going to move on to the voting issues and then explain why we win. So if everyone's ready, my time starts now. So first, some clarifications of evidence is right. So first of all, it's caring centers and nursing homes. We did tell you that it's councilly owned, therefore it is public infrastructure. Second of all, disabilities. Our opponent's evidence provided you with with nothing related to what they said about the 3.7 million people that they help. And third of all, what we're telling you is the benefit doesn't mean alleviate out of poverty. And last of all, about pensions, right? We tell you that it's not feasible, and that the only solvency to this is jobs. And because we need a 15 years contribution for these people to receive pensions, therefore we are the ones who solve this problem. Now, second of all, let's move on to framework, right? We tell you that we should prioritize sustainability in this debate because only sustainability tells you what is true poverty being alleviated. Now, beginning with the issue of disability, what we tell you is a couple of things, right? First, both of us have agreed that we have to solve poverty for the disabled. They themselves talk about how alleviating disabled people out of poverty. So it doesn't actually make a lot of sense when they say that disabled people cannot and shouldn't be working when we simply show you that they are offered jobs in the status quo, right? Now, why we specifically win under this voting issue? We benefit the disabled children by providing them schools and special equipment, and we benefit the adults by providing them e-commerce jobs, which moves us to our second voting issue in this debate, that is roads, right? We tell you that specifically a 1% increase in road investment is associated with a 0.3% drop in poverty incidences over 5 years. And we tell you that we currently lack roads right now. For instance, in Gansu, the second poorest province in China, only 43% of provinces' villages have paved rural roads. Therefore, we can increase the number by 60%. This simply hampers economic development. Thus, in order to increase e-commerce development, we simply have to build more roads. And Judge, we tell you that even if you don't buy this and you buy what they say and you suppose that these jobs isn't given to the poor, we tell that the percentage of people living under poverty line will reduce by 1.32% when the employment rate in the province increases by 1%. We also told you, right, that at the end of the day, it would still benefit the poor since when the GDP per capita increases by 1%, the poverty will decrease by 0.1% as well. For all these reasons, never been more proud to negate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. And now we are waiting for the judge. And the judge, please, when you judging them, tell me your choose, okay?
Hi, we're gonna need like Cindy to confirm the information and so that we can vote on the mini program.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm doing it right now.
Is there anyone who hasn't voted for it? Because I still didn't see the results.
My mini program didn't show up on my WeChat, so I just really text the host. Is that okay?
Yeah, because I have a problem with my mini program. I have requested any TA staff to help me. I don't know whether they have
I think
updated
it's
the result
okay.
or not.
Like, could we just privately send this
Okay,
result to the
great.
host?
Thanks.
Okay, congratulations to Kansai. You are the winner.
Okay, since I'm the minority, I will just start with my oral feedback first. So I vote for cons. Oh, I vote for pros. I vote for pros. And first of all, pros framework is so urgent, and I think first of all, your summary speech needs to give more clear impact weighing on clashing points. But I think that your second speaker rebuttal speech is really great attack on jobs and e-commerce from Kansai, and the pension point is really strong. I think you could use it more to attack Kansai directly. And I think that you have a really great and well-organized rebuttal speech. And speaker was talking with logical arguments and giving the latest example of the word to relate pro se of the topic. And both were very effective in speech delivery. So for Kansai, your framework is long-term solutions. I like how you build your cases, but I think you should need to tell the judge why nursing home have direct linkages with the debate resolutions. So basically, I understand why you think that nursing homes will kind of having pulling some of the people out of poverty, but I did not see any of the direct linkages from your cases. And respond to the evidence comparisons on roles in Gansu in a more clear scope and magnitude. So this question, I did not see any clear responses from you. And I think you also need to rebut the pros education contention on the and also on the effectiveness of subsidies and solutions. And I think you also need to give links of giving jobs will pull people out of poverty and some suggestions to both side speakers. So first of all, you got to check a lot of evidences, but I did not see any of you give any of the claims about evidence to the judges. So it means that the judge will open all of the links one by one, but they could not just get like why you guys are checking this evidence. It does not matter that much. So if you want win on evidences, instead of just wasting time on checking them, try to claim the judge why this evidence is vital and why this evidence has a really clear impact on the whole debate and why this should be counted as a voting issues or question points. So I voted for pro, and although Kang gives us a really rough summary speech, I still ended up with voting for pro at the end of the day. So I almost want to change my mind after summary speech because Kansai is more effective in summary. But like at the end of the day, Kansai did not successfully attack pro contentions of pensions and education, and pro defend their cases well, and they attack Kansai arguments of nursing homes and career centers, and also e-commerce with outweighing impact scope and magnitude. So on the disabled and the elderly discussion point, I think Kansai they will provide them with Kansai said they will provide them with jobs, but Pro rebut this by simply saying that the jobs will only go to the high level workers, and I think that I was looking forward to see more responses from Kansai, but unfortunately not. So Pro was able to claim clearly to me that why their whole impact outweighs, and Kang also need to give more clear voting issues in your final focus instead of only weighing general impact. But you guys also did a really great job, perfect job in this round. So this is a really, really close round for me to judge, and I could see how much effort that both teams put in their cases and blogs, and congratulations to both teams for making it to finals, and good luck for future debate rounds. And this is a great round. My decision does not define our capabilities. And also congratulations for Kansai for being the champion of this tournament. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I also voted for the Kansai. Why I voted for the Kansai? That actually Kansai make it very clear that why the current in the current system for pension, there aren't enough money, and the only way out is to provide more jobs so that the economy could be boosted and more money could flow into that system to help more people. And the concept also stated that why nursing houses are important for the people, and they're not private infrastructure but public infrastructures. The pro side also did a good job in stating that why education could help people and why this welfare system could directly go into the poor. But to me, as a con has made it very, very clear about like how money goes to the places and how it helped the people in need. But the pro side didn't really make that clear is that why getting more infrastructure is not going to help the people. But there is a slight question for the con side is actually when you're talking about that when there are more jobs for the poor people might have more income. But the thing is that if I were the pro side, I might question that if there are more jobs for the poor people to choose, then why the poor family wouldn't ask their children to go to work as well, since they would have more people working for the family and they could earn more income. Would that hinder the education process and would that cause a burden for the family as well? And that might be the question I want to ask. But congratulations for the debate, and you've won for this tournament.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I also voted for the con side. It was also a super close debate and very hard to make a decision. So I basically voted on the pension and education argument. I credited both arguments to the con side. I really like how you guys are connecting like the solvencies of both arguments to your own job growth argument. For the disabled community argument, I at the end of the debate, I think pro is winning slightly on this argument, but you guys are like so hung up on the evidence check, which I wanted to mention because Khan wanted to check that piece of evidence saying something like 3.7 million people are benefited, but according to my flow, I think the pro actually said that like in a status quo, governments are only funding $3 million of subsidies for disabled people. So I think that might have been a misunderstanding. So just don't get super hung up on evidence. And also, like the other judges have said, if you wanted to win on evidence, you need to make a claim in your following speeches. Otherwise, it would just be meaningless. And on the nursing homes argument, I think the pro could have done a better job rebutting the content, maybe comparing that to your pension argument, saying how it is less effective instead of just saying it is untopical. Yeah, so overall, I think Khan did a better job. And congratulations for being the champion of this tournament.
Thank you.
Okay. I also voted for the con side because of the feasible long-term solution that was being provided with the help of job creations. So I felt that was having a bigger impact on poverty alleviation instead of having simply pension fund, and which I felt it was much more infeasible aspect that was not addressed by the pro side. And then another solvency that was being provided with the help of e-commerce for disabled people as well. So I bought their arguments as well, and also this public caring centers. So I thought if pro side could have refuted with a clear logic or evidence that it's not the public infrastructure. So I bought the argument of the con side that it's a public infrastructure. So that was good solvency on their part as well. And then the final, in the education arguments about the dropout rates, but I felt they failed to right. So that made me overall vote for the con side. But overall, it was really good debate. So both the relations to con, but keep it.
Okay, so I voted a pro ballot, but I think this was a very close debate. Good job by both teams, and congratulations to the consulate. I felt for the pro side, the pensions and the education arguments were very strong, and I gave this the pro. But con had good arguments too, but then I just feel the con's impact was more clarified, more quantified, and then by weighing the impact, I gave it to the pro side.
So are we supposed to leave now?
Okay,
I
thank
guess
you
you're-
everyone. This contest is over, and thank you again.
Thanks, judge. Thanks, hosts. Thanks, opponents. Nice
Thanks,
debate.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Good.